Wingtip.
Good afternoon. It is September 26, 2023. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Lemanos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? Being a teacher is hard enough. Being a little kid teacher has got to be even harder, but let's take it to the next level. There's a Pennsylvania school district that is having 17 sets of twins starting kindergarten over 3 schools. If you looked at your roster and found out that you were having 6 sets of twins in your class, do you think you'd just be done? You think, you like childcare, but this is just, it's too far, you're done. You got to find a different profession. This is way too hard.
It's not making it any easier, but are you really, it's always going to be kind of a wasted effort because no kid stays in the same grade forever, right? So they're constantly moving on to someone else's problem. So this is temporary effort. I think that's the worst part about this is the payoff is just for this year.
I didn't even think about that you could be a second grade teacher right now seeing this wave headed your way. And if these schools, these elementary schools, if they combine at the middle school level, there could be even more sets of twins that are just invading and tricking you as they're getting smarter. It sounds like a real challenge. I'm glad that is not something that I have to come across in my line of work. I think
this is how you plan your retirement. If you're the 6th grade teacher, it's like, okay, it's 4 years, whatever. Okay, yeah, I'm done, and this is it. I'm not doing this no more. Or I'm not sure at some point do we go by different names? I mean, what do you? There's no real solution here, right? Because
I don't think you go by different names because they're twins. They just look the same. They already have different names. I wonder if you could just call them by the same name.
Everyone gets a letter. No, number 412 and 414. It's no real easy solution here. But we're not really full of a whole lot of solutions. At least we're going to try to come up with some solutions today. And college football is generally not my cup of tea, but there were some entertaining games this past weekend. Some that just can't be ignored. Some storylines that they're unavoidable. Like I'm going to try to avoid saying Taylor Swift all day, but I can't avoid talking about this Colorado-Oregon game, which truthfully was not much of a game from the get-go. The smack talk before and after is far more of the headline here. It ends up being Colorado 6, Oregon 42, and that might have been merciful, to be honest with you. I'd like to think that Oregon is at full potential and that Colorado is nowhere near that, so I'm not hitting the panic button. I've been happy to be on the Dion bus and the train, the bandwagon, whatever you want to call it, over the last couple of weeks. It's been fun. And I'm just shocked of the amount of hate coming out of this that like Colorado was so undeserving of the attention. And maybe they are, but they may have been undeserving of winning this game, but I don't know if they've been undeserving of everything that Dion's done over the past couple of years. I'm shocked that Oregon had so much offense with all of the attention that Colorado's bringing was now on the spotlight of them, and they had a great time and a great game with it, but it feels like they didn't want it. It's like they don't want the additional fans, the additional traction for all of this. Am I reading too much into this?
One thing to point out is you said all the things that Dion has done over the past few years. This is his first year. This is all this is all brand new. He turned this around so quickly, and even though they got absolutely shellacked, they only won 1 game last year. He's got the number 1 recruit in there. He's got a couple of his sons in there. He's got a guy that plays on offense and defense. Is an amazing athlete. So not great to get shellacked. They're missing Travis Hunter. He's the one that plays quarterback and wide receiver. I don't think that he changes basically a 40-point blowout. And like you said, it could have been worse. Right from the get-go, you could tell this was not going to go well. But they already got their upset. They've already won 3 games. I think this is going to really drop down. A couple of weeks ago, I was out in San Francisco, and I was just at a local bar and had guys asking me, hey, are they going to put the Colorado game on? I think we're going to move away from that. He's like, we're moving away. There was Tebow mania a long time ago. There's been other manias. We're moving away from the mania where you're having an average fan look at it. Unless USC coming to town, have the reigning Heisman winner, USC, very good this year, coming to Colorado. Once again, Colorado is a 20-plus point underdog, so they're expected to lose by 3 touchdowns, so it's not supposed to be close. But I think if they upset USC at home, storm the field for a third time. I think this train can continue rolling on. I don't think that will happen, but I think there's still that is the magnitude of what's going to happen. Is they're going to have a 3-touchdown upset. I think that's the only way that this train keeps rolling.
Look, it's not really a good movie if it's 4 games in and suddenly they're just like, okay, Deion figured it out. He can now compete with Oregon. Like that's not a movie. That's not a story. There's no arc in that, right? There has to be. We started here and we went there. So the idea that this is such a finished product or this product might be over is kind of ridiculous. I know it's only been a couple weeks, but I imagine he's going to be there for a couple of years. And imagine just what next year alone will be after this year, even with the struggles of this past week and even with the potential struggles going into this upcoming week. I think that this is a momentum of an opportunity to go play for someone like this. They don't have the talent like that. And I'm not sure. Let me ask you this. Do you think the results of this game, if you're a high school recruit right now and you were, say, maybe you were deciding between Colorado and Oregon, do you think this game shifts you in any way?
I think if you like what Deion's doing, I think you're already locked in. He said he's already changed things around there. He's already getting guys to come in, and I think it's only going to grow and become more of this is the spot to be for as long as he stays there. He was at a Power 5 school, but the Pac-12, kind of falling apart. So I could see him wanting to go even to the next level, to more of a premier top school. But we'll see. We'll see if that opportunity arises. We'll see if that's something that he wants.
This isn't the last time we're going to talk about Deion, and I don't think it's going to be about the constant struggles every single week. They'll bounce back. It would have been, look, if they won, like, what could you just imagine if Colorado won this game? What would we be talking about today?
It would have been wild.
So
to go on to overcome a 20-point, the same thing like I'm saying with USC. You're going in when you're a 3-touchdown underdog. That upset doesn't happen very often. That is front page news.
I guess I'm more upset that there seems to be outrage that this team didn't even compete with all this. When you said this is exactly the odds that were predicted going into the game, so it shouldn't be a whole lot of shocks.
There's a lot more gambling in the mainstream, but you saw the video, or I'm sure you saw the video. If you haven't, you could search it out. There's a whole video that Oregon posted that was before the game, and Colorado is talking a lot of smack. Travis Hunter has his own show, I think on just like an internet show. It's on Bleacher Report, but I can see there's definitely older fan bases that are saying, "Hey, you're talking all this nonsense. You guys haven't done anything. You're not champions. You've won a couple of games. Wait till you've been there a little bit." So I could see where when someone was coming and being the big man on campus and they don't think they've earned it, saying, "Hey, hold on, just you're not there yet. You haven't earned your place."
Right, there's no way to really predict this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. More likely to win a college football championship over the next 5 years, Deion Sanders coaching or Oregon?
Deion Sanders coaching.
Yeah, so go ahead, Oregon. Enjoy your celebration this week and knocking someone down who in the next 5 years probably has a better chance than you. And if that's not a wake-up call, oh boy, watch out for everyone else. This was not the only game of the week. There was a far more actual competitive game that was actually between two solid competitive teams, both ranked. That is number 4 Ohio State winning barely over number 11 Notre Dame, 17-14. It's not a pretty ending. Should we just jump straight there? Or do you want to start with the good parts where you guys are winning most of this game?
Oof. Talk about a losing mentality there. Well, you were winning most of the game. It was frustrating. The whole Saturday was we had previewed it last week. A whole bunch of fun games, but really that was the main game that I was looking forward to. And we've had some trouble in the past, and definitely last year was a struggle. So being in the driver's seat was nice, but man, you just the way the Saturday just comes crashing down just around your ears is it's not the way you wanted the weekend to go. So that was definitely unfortunate.
Hard to blame it all on one play, but with 15 seconds left, they throw it away as an intentional grounding. Ohio State throws it away and is now in 3rd and 19 with 15 seconds left. and they're able to convert it all the way to the 1, and then
just right on the goal line,
and then responsibly get all the way to the line, and it's you have to make the stop at 3rd and 19, right? Like that's
where
you have to be able to do that because you're up 4. They need a touchdown. A field goal does nothing for them.
As well as the time is winding down, so you keep it in front, and then yes, they still get another shot at the end zone, but there's not that many opportunities. I mean, you're seeing it and knowing that it's a college team. You see pro teams that can struggle sometimes when it's going crazy. You're on the road, the student section's right there. That you're getting up to the line, somebody doesn't quite get up on the line or doesn't set for the full second, and before you know it, there's the runoff and the game's over. So I'm just thinking all of those things. It just it's just the worst when you're trying to make time go faster and you can't make it go faster.
Well, it's also helpful if you have the correct number of players on the field at all times for critical plays. It's kind of key to being competitive. It's happened. It's not the first time it's happened. It'll happen again. It's just to then again put so much weight on single plays is crazy. You could have made a whole bunch of other plays in this game, but man, it seemed like you guys had a really good chance at winning this game. It just sort of slipped away at the very, very end. Rough way to lose, but at the end of the day, we could say Ohio State's probably pretty good, and Notre Dame should still be pretty good. It's hard to say you're going to do much with the 1 in the L column, but like I said, everyone else might get an L too, so you could still be in this. I wouldn't cross this team off yet, right? Like you were winning this game for 97% of it.
That's where with college football you can get away with one loss, especially a loss like this. It was at home, but we were an underdog. So I think it was a push. I think we were a 3-point underdog. So if it comes down and you're comparing records and someone has a bad record, especially this loss being in September, we go on a run, but you can't lose the second one now. You lose the second one, no chance at the championship. No chance at all.
Well, you ironically have to root for Ohio State now too, right? Because you want them to be good. You need this loss.
No, I don't think so. Because they're also ahead. So, that's a goofy one. You can't be focused on other teams. You got to focus on yourself.
All right. Well, are there any other teams we should be focused on from this past Saturday, or this next Saturday?
Just 2 more games I just wanted to mention. Started off the day with a fun one. FSU survived against Clemson. Clemson seemed to be in control pretty much of that whole game. And then just the joke is for a long time before Clemson really had success, a few years ago, that it was always Clemson would Clemson, kind of like we do the Chargers chargering. So they kind of did that to themselves again. So FSU survived that scare. And then Bama looks like they're getting on track. They overcame a halftime deficit to beat number 15 Ole Miss. And just want to, Alabama lost, but like I just said, you can have one loss in college. And it seems like this year there's a lot of parity, a lot of weird stuff can happen. And if there are a bunch of one-loss teams against each other, Alabama is going to they can weasel their way back into this conversation. They've done it before. So that's from this past week. Coming up this week, we have Utah at Oregon State, both ranked. That is a Friday night game. So if you're looking for something to do on Friday night before all the Saturday game starts, we kind of talked about it before, but USC at Colorado. And then the primetime game is ranked LSU at Ole Miss. So that'll be, I think that's at 6 o'clock Eastern, if you're looking for what the kind of premier game of the weekend's going to be.
Has anyone actually considered that, what if maybe this team and this coach that's been really good at developing players over the last whatever years in Alabama suddenly gets an offense? Like, what if this quarterback suddenly figures it out? I mean, they're still Alabama, right? Like, if this offense suddenly comes together, who knows what they put together, right? There's still a whole lot of potential here. We'll see what happens this upcoming week. But it was an exciting games of Sunday football in the professional league of the NFL. I wish I could say confidence with like, oh yeah, we nailed our picks last week. I can't wait to share all of them this week because it's not going well. I'm not doing great. I fell behind, and not by much because you didn't have that great of a week either. It's not going well. Do you have any comments on the current leaderboard right now? Where I believe we're both. What are we? I think I'm 4th out of 4, and you are 2nd out of 4, but only 1 pick ahead of me. And what, you couple picks behind first place. Shout out to first place. Nate's actually in like the 95th percentile or something. So maybe he should be doing picks. Do you want to hear Nate's picks instead of mine?
No, I don't want to hear his picks. I don't want to get distracted. I had I just started off rough. I've gotten better every week. I went from 7 right to 8 right to last week I had 11 right. So if I just continue that trajectory, I mean, you'll never catch me.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll kick off this week here. We're going to talk about the first game. It's the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Detroit successful this past week against Atlanta, who was not very good. I just wrote down that Detroit's not bad. I would buy into Sam Laporta fantasy-wise, but this Green Bay team will be at home. They come back against New Orleans. They're up. They're down 17-0. They end up winning 18-17. It's a hell of a comeback. Jordan Love looks good. Actually, had a couple plays. I thought that no look on the 2-point conversion was actually pretty impressive. But all that being said, this team was down 17-0, and I can't buy into the Packers. I'm still a denier, and I have to buy into Detroit because of that. So I'm taking Detroit in this first week, despite them honestly really not doing anything incredibly impressive since week 1. Atlanta wasn't an impressive win, but who you got week 1 here?
You mean Thursday night?
Thursday
We're in
night.
week 4 now.
Week 4. First game.
Yeah,
Game 1.
There we go. Game 1. There we go. I will also be taking the Lions. I think the Green Bay comeback had a lot more to do with Derek Carr getting hurt and just couldn't quite get it done at the end with the missed field goal. So I agree with you where I think Green Bay – I'm not sure if Green Bay is good. I think they're just kind of more mediocre, where I think Detroit is just they might be just like a little bit above average. Yeah, like you said, don't take a ton out of beating Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta's very good. Ritter just – I don't know. You're throwing him out there, but I don't see much going on there.
Well, we're actually talking Atlanta-Jacksonville as the next game, and Ritter you brought up not being very good. I'm ready to change this up. I've seen enough. I haven't seen enough highlights to say, like, okay, well, this is what it could be if he could just put that together for the entire game. I don't see this happening. This is going to be a London game, 9:30 wake up on the East Coast here. Heads up for that. Atlanta's 2-1. I just don't know how they're going to be able to do this with Ritter. I think this team has a whole lot of potential, and I haven't even started to talk about Jacksonville's disaster this past week, but I'm picking Atlanta over Jacksonville still. I'm still doing it because this Jacksonville offense, you know how they say, like, back in the day, Stephon Marbury was a problem? This offense is an actual problem, and that's how the problem should be used. This is not good. This offense for Jacksonville is terrible. This team had time of possession. They hit the ball for 32 minutes, and they managed to only put up 10 points against the Houston Texans, and also gave up 37 points to the Houston Texans. How can you be in on Jacksonville? I was out at the beginning of the year. I'm still out now. I might not pick them the rest of the year going forward. I can't believe I drafted Trevor Lawrence in one of my leagues. It's destroying me. I lost again this week. That's 2 weeks in a row. I probably would have won if I just had a half-decent quarterback in there. I'm so anti-Jacksonville that I have to go Atlanta. And Atlanta can at least run the ball. I mean, I can't say anything successful that Jacksonville can do right now. And go ahead, shock me on what you think Jacksonville is going to be able to do against Atlanta. Because I don't have any confidence in them at all. Who you got?
I'm going with Jacksonville. Normally in this spot you go, well, they're kind of even. Both don't seem to have it together. The home team. Well, they're both playing on the road, but Jacksonville has played a lot of games in London, so I think they are kind of playing at home. So I'm going to just go with experience there. I agree with the Trevor Lawrence. It just he's slipping closer and closer to that. I have to more and more talk myself into him, and at some point you can't do it anymore. But I think this is going to be a rough one. Now, something else to mention, like you said, this is a London game, first one of the year, 9:30 in the morning. Going to be on ESPN Plus. It will also be cast as a cartoon based on Toy Story. You are a fan of these alternate broadcasts. Will you be watching the regular version, or will you be watching the Toy Story version?
I do really like Toy Story. Of the Toy Story, I mean, it's a huge fan base. I'm not acting like I'm the only Toy Story fan here, but I am one of them. I'm not going to buy into this, but I'm curious to it. I will imagine if this was presented to me as a child, how much I would enjoy it, and I'm disappointed that it's being presented to me now at the age of whatever, and not really enjoying it quite as much. It's cool though, right? This is good. We want more fans. want more people to like football, more people to watch football. If that's easier to digest for kids, or if they think this is an effective way to spend money, by all means do it. I mean, they weren't doing anything for us, so I'm just happy that the needs are at least being thought about. So that's cool, right? Like, I mean, is there a show that you would be into? Like, is it, what do you want, the Harry Potter version of all this? Like, what would actually intrigue you?
Well, see, I am a grown man, so I just like football like normal football, but I'm not going to hate on them trying different things. They've done the Nickelodeon where they have the slime when they score a touchdown. It's been kind of surprising they've done that for playoff games rather than regular season. But what's really cool about football is the majority of the games are on Sunday. They're on Sunday during the day between 1 and 7 o'clock. If you have a young child, perfect timing. There's a lot of other sports, they don't even start on a regular day until 7 o'clock, even on the weekends. So I think this is a great idea, especially with this one starting at 9:30 in the morning. Here's a cartoon. Here's a way you can teach your 6-year-old. you trick them with you're watching the football game. You're having fun. They're having fun because they think it's just a regular cartoon. Have no idea what's going to happen. And maybe it'll help if this game is really terrible. It'll make it more comical with having them play as cartoons. So I think I might have to flip over and check it out, just see what's up. I have no idea how they're going to make it work, but it's definitely worth it, especially with all the TV things going on. Take swings. The worst thing that happens is you just go right back to where you started.
You know what the problem is? This is like the bar in like the Miami Dolphins bar where they said I think they did a shot of tequila every time there was a touchdown score. They might have a whole bunch of cool presentations on every scoring and exciting play and all this, and we might not get any of the exciting plays because of the two teams that are playing. So I don't want this idea to be ignored just because they weren't able to use the touchdown dance and celebration for a game where there was no touchdowns. I think that's my only flaw of this. That they might put a whole lot of effort into it, and they might not be able to present any of it. What if there's no good plays to animate it all? Like, it's just another punt. Here we go.
Maybe Buzz Lightyear is really not a fan of the ground game, and he's a big fan of field goals with the ball flying through the air, and he flies, above the ball. Maybe he helps the ball, go through the uprights a little bit. Maybe there's some home cooking there.
Well, who would have thought Infinity and Beyond was in London and not in the U.S.? Moving on, next game, Miami Dolphins. This is the game of the week here. 3-0 facing the Buffalo Bills, 2-1. Miami scored 70 points last week. That's not a misspeak. That's not a basketball score. This is a Miami Dolphins, not the Miami Heat. The Miami Dolphins scored 70 points this past week. Mostert had 4 touchdowns. Ainche had 4 touchdowns. Tua had 4 touchdowns. Tua was 23 of 26, 3 incomplete passes, 304 yards. I mean, by the way, Jalen Waddle didn't play. They averaged 10.2 yards per play and were just unstoppable. I think this has a whole lot more to do with the Miami Dolphins than the Denver Broncos, who quietly put up 20 points in their 70-20 point loss. I mean, what else can we say? I don't remember ever seeing 70 points. We were talking on this live, and we were kind of just wondering, how high will this actually go? Do you think they should have shown mercy, or did they show mercy, and this actually could have been a lot worse?
It was in the third quarter. They were up by a whole bunch, and they went for 2 for some reason. I didn't really get that. But then afterwards, I think they did pretty much show mercy where they were just running the ball. They're running the ball up the middle, and at a certain level, it's, hey, this is still professional teams. They probably had some of their backups in, but it's a run play. It's only supposed to go for maybe 3 yards. And if you're running off 70 multiple, basically like 70-yard touchdowns, I was watching Red Zone, and they kept going to the game. I thought it was when you're watching and that broadcast goes to, into another broadcast for a touchdown you've already seen. But then every time I checked the score kept going up. And then I jokingly asked you, hey, what's the record? Yeah, they were pretty close to the record. I think anytime you're close to going for the record, you throw out the sportsmanship a little bit. And if you have a chance to cement yourself as, hey, we scored the most points in history, you got to go for it. And I think they could have, because did they stop scoring with 8 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go in the fourth? It still seemed like there was every time I looked, they had this many points. There's this much time left.
I just want to point out that I thought this damaged Red Zone this weekend because they show every touchdown. They have to show every touchdown. They show every Red Zone play. They showed this game, in which it wasn't even a game, way too much, and they had to. There's no way.
They had to.
They broke red zone, scoring 70 points in a blowout. Because there's other games going on that are getting real close. It's like, oh my God, they just scored again. And then you kept watching the score, it just kept going up. All right, so they're going to be at Buffalo this week. Buffalo not had a pretty good week the past week as well. They took on the Washington Commanders. They forced 9 sacks, 1 fumble, and 4 interceptions. Washington was 1-9 on third down. Certainly not a win to brag about, but it's a win that they had to do. All right, some teams they fell into a bit of a trap this past week, and Buffalo wasn't doing that against Washington. Now they're hosting Miami, who was almighty dominant with a whole bunch of points. I think this should be a really good game. As well as Buffalo's played and as many good games as they have been in over the past couple of years, how do you not pick Miami after seeing a 70-point last week? I don't expect them to score 70, but I don't think Buffalo could put anywhere near this offense right now. I imagine Waddle will come back and this offense will be even better. So I'm going with Miami on the road. I can understand you picking Buffalo, but I just time and place. Like, is last week a fluke, or are you going Buffalo?
Give me Buffalo at home. They're not scoring 70 points again. That's for sure. That won't come back to bite me. I just think some of it has to do with Miami, but I think some of it too has to do with Denver. And Denver is not a good team. And I think at a certain point, when you're getting run all over like that, you just there's no, hey, maybe we're going to come back in this game. There's a little bit of, hey, trying to save my dignity. But then it's like, well, I'm not going to get hurt. We're down by 40 points. Like, this game's over. So I think it can run away. And I think Buffalo is able to compete. I think if you were looking at this game last week, I think you'd be picking Buffalo. But because of just what happened, if you compare their last 2 wins, the Patriots, we'll get to them in more detail later, but barely beat the Jets, and we only lost to Miami by a touchdown. And we were marching down, had a chance to tie that game up. So I think you just got to reel it back in. Even with Waddle coming back, they had 2 running backs that just absolutely went off. But you can only really it's so many points. It's so many points. But my question for you is, how has there ever been a bona fide bench, like a bona fide fantasy bench guy that has scored over 50 points?
Yeah, no. Well, actually, that wasn't fantasy. I'm thinking the Patriots have always had like this oddball running back kind of thing. He'll have like 4 touchdowns in like the second round of the playoffs, but that's not in the regular season. So that's not actual fantasy.
Because I was trying to think. I had what is it? It's not A-Chain. It's A-Can. I think it's A-Chain now.
A-Chain? A-Chain, right?
No. I think it was A-Chain, and then he came out and said it wasn't. I think it might be a short A-Chan.
A-Chan?
I think it's a Chan. Yeah, Devin a Chan. Yeah. Once you blow up that nationally, then you're able to go to the announcers and say, hey, could you get my name right? That'd be great. So I had him in my main league on my bench, and what was going on, it was, well, this isn't great. Wow, he has this is a real lot of points. And then I'm looking at it. There was absolutely no chance I was going to start this guy. He was projected for a moderate amount of points. I don't even have killer running backs, but he wasn't even going to sniff my flex spot with no bye. He had 0 points in week 1 and had 1 point like something last week. So I was looking through articles. I couldn't find anything, but I was wondering if there was ever maybe you could have thought of something of a guy that was definitely a bench player that goes for 50. 50 is a lot. So normally when it happens, it's somebody that everybody knows about and just really just puts it all together. A Justin Jefferson. I can't think of a time where it would be a guy that either is just for sure on your bench, but I mean he wasn't even a 50-50. Like I said, there was no chance. So just a no chance guy on your bench that just absolutely kills it.
So you're not starting him next week because you already picked Buffalo. Buffalo's going to win this game. No points for H-Chan.
I think he could get points actually as a fantasy option. It's going to be really tough to pick him up because of what he did, and I don't think you're going to see that level of points. We'll see if he scores 50 in the next 3 or 4 games. But Raheem Mostert, he is not the healthiest of running backs, so he showed he could do it. And assuming the Broncos just aren't the absolute worst defense of all time. Even as just a handcuff, kind of more premier handcuff, I would definitely you try to pick them up.
What a bullied game! What a bully! 70-20.
And one of the was it a kick return? One of them wasn't even the offense for the Broncos.
I think that did happen. I think they punted and I think they did run one back. All right, next game. Denver Broncos at Chicago Bears. You know what I wrote down?
From best to worst at the same time.
Do you know what I wrote underneath? I wrote, pick on someone your own size. Here you go. You get Chicago. This wasn't great. This just was bad. I mean, what can you say about Russ other than he put up 20? Gotta love him.
He didn't. One of them was special teams.
I have. You know what though? As much as I want to put it all in the offense, I mean, sure. Once it gets out of hand, the defense isn't really trying. But the defense still gave up a ton of points immediately. Like this was over.
Mm-hmm.
Like the second was. I don't think there's really any winners in this game. Somebody has to win this game, but these are two teams that I think are bona fide losers the rest of the year. I'm sorry. They're both 0-3. Somebody has to get their first win of the year. What I think is incredibly unfair for the Bears, and I said this last week, they lost 41-10 to Kansas City. Not exactly, thriving. Didn't give up 70, but 41 isn't a whole lot to be happy about here either. I don't think you could assess anything on you when you have so many weaknesses everywhere else on your team. And it's easy to get on Fields, and I think the easiest thing to get on for him is you're down. You lost this game 41-10, and you only had 99 yards in passing, and you only had 22 attempts throwing. Like, was there any effort to sling this thing around? Like, I understand not having the greatest weapons around you, but it's even the worst teams at any level, sling the ball around, give up like 20 interceptions, just trying to make it happen. I don't know if we should respect him being a ball control managing guy when you're down 41-10. That's not successful. You don't get to suck and then hope that, look, I'll be the young Jimmy G here. That's not winning. That's not what we want you to do. We want you to get better at throwing and get better at offense. And it doesn't seem like they have any interest in doing that. So I'm picking Denver because they gave up more points than the Bears last week, and I think that's the team that'll be more upset by it than Chicago will. I don't feel good about it though. They're on the road and it could be the home team Chicago. Who are you going with?
I am going with the Broncos. Both of these teams, not good at all, but I think the Bears are even worse. The Bears have their own pick. I'm not sure if the Denver Broncos have any of their own picks. They traded a ton for Russell Wilson and then decided we're going to trade a bunch for Sean Payton, as well as make him the highest paid coach in the NFL. 0 wins so far and getting absolutely embarrassed. Oh, man, were people just throwing the comments back in his face that he made in the preseason saying, hey, the guy behind me, he had his problems and, this team, this and that. Well, now you are squarely in the crosshairs. And I think it's a little early for a victory lap, but you were thinking Sean Payton was going to come in here and really make a difference. And I was I don't think that you just bring a coach in and he just changes everything. And so I think a little early for a victory lap there, but it sure looks like I'm starting to load up those floats for that parade.
Hey, but this defense was good last year, right? Like Denver, I'm not crazy for thinking Denver had a good defense last year. They didn't win a lot of games, but the defense was fine. Like they had more stops in the red zone than I think any other team last year. The fact that they didn't double down on that this year and that the offense, they lose Javonte, he tears his ACL, he comes back. Like he's back this year. The story could easily be he's not back till week 8, and that's like one of the reasons the offense struggles and that your team's missing that high draft pick running back that you needed. And you don't have it. But he's back. So like I don't even know what excuses to kind of pin this on. It's just they have a better coach in theory. They have Russ for a whole other year, at least 1 year of practicing with everyone, getting to know a whole lot of stuff. And I just to go so far backwards to make so many smart moves, there has to be a bigger issue with this whole team that I can't really tell you what it is. But there's like a really bad juju feeling across this whole team. They don't seem together. You only give up 70 points if you just totally give up. I don't think any team is truly capable.
So many points.
No team is that bad to give up 70 points to even the best team in the NFL. At some point, you just give in, and they gave in. And I think that's the biggest concern is that you're a new coach, You're 3 weeks in and your team just quit on you. That should be really, really concerning. And I had a whole lot of faith in this team because I thought he was going to fix it because I thought they were a good team. Not good. Not good. Got to move on. Got to get away from this 2-0-3 team. You spent way too much time on two teams that aren't even relevant and won't even be relevant. Next game, Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns, both 2-1. Both having interesting weeks the past week here. Baltimore, is it just standard that the running backs are just going to get hurt week by week every year? Gus Edwards goes out with a concussion. They have 1 of 7. Odell Beckham Jr. is 1 of 7 starters not to start. Not great. They lose the game in Indianapolis. They had so many opportunities here. The Minshew mustache lives on. Couldn't hold Lamar back. Right, just didn't do it. I'm going with Cleveland just for the defense. I thought Myles Garrett is enough of a shift to just make this game his. And I don't like what Baltimore's doing or the direction it's going. If all those guys start, maybe they'll actually have some offensive weapons, but it just seemed discouraging that they weren't able to outscore Gardner Minshew and that 19 points wasn't enough to win the game either. The defense couldn't stop that. Watson goes 27 to 33 for 289, 2 touchdowns. It's not great, but it's good enough, and I think they'll be good enough to win at home. I'm into the defense. I got Cleveland at home. Who you got?
I also am going Cleveland. Myles Garrett is terrifying. The Ravens, too many injuries going on. I just you hit the nail on the head saying that the running back situation just over and over again. And with all of those starters being hurt, Lamar is an excellent quarterback, but you can only do so much. I had not realized how well Deshaun Watson had played because all I heard about was how good the Browns defense was and kind of getting thrown around like, hey, is this the best defense in the league? As well as he got wrapped up, was facing the wrong direction, and sure looked like he tried to throw it to his running back that was behind him, but missed him big time and was one of those very bad visuals. So I assumed, oh, he is doing plays like that. That's really bad. But then when I saw kind of at the end, that was more the exception than the rule. So I am going to go with Cleveland at home.
I feel for Lamar, though. I mean, look, Baltimore and Lamar, I don't think they should be mad at each other. Like, they should just be mad at the luck that they've had to deal with. You know, the whole contract dispute and, truthfully not really achieving the kind of the expectations they've needed to reach the past couple of years it's just hard. But I still think Lamar is a really good quarterback, and if you could just keep a team healthy around him, I mean, even just Odell is helpful. Bateman is helpful. He was out. Like, there's ways to help this team.
If you want to be a good team, you can't lose to a backup quarterback at home, even if it is Minshew and all the mania. You can't. And it's not like Minshew was crazy and pulled off some crazy nonsense. It's you had overtime, you had plenty of opportunities. You gotta shut the door on that and walk away from home as a winner.
I know they have the ball in overtime too. Like the game's it's here. Take it. Just it's there. Indianapolis doesn't even want to win this game.
Right there. Nope.
Next game, Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. All right, so Joe Burrow played, and they won. They're 1-2 now. Is everything fixed? Like, everyone's acting like, oh, he's got to play. They're 0-2. They got to save the season. Is the season saved now? Like, he's still injured. He's not getting any more healthy. If he's able to get rid of the ball like he did yesterday in under a second, he stands a chance. But I got a feeling the team coming up the next week is going to have a better idea of how to defend that. The problem is the team coming up next week is the Tennessee Titans, and they got smacked by Cleveland, and it was like it happened again. Tannehill looked terrible. Derrick Henry gave me 4 fantasy points. I don't know what happened. Did he not play? Did this team not have the ball in offense? I guess I'm going with Cincinnati. I don't feel good about it. I bet on Tennessee the last couple of weeks, and they've burned me the last couple of weeks, and I'm starting to buy in that maybe that's just who they are. Versus Cincinnati, I've seen Burrow be really good. He was better yesterday. They weren't great, and as long as he's out there, I think they got a better chance than the Tennessee Titans do. And I don't feel great about it, but I'll go with it. Who you got?
I'm going with Cincy. The season has been saved from destruction, but hasn't been turned around yet. It has a possibility now. If they lost last night, it was disaster, panic everywhere, but now there's a chance they can turn this around.
All right, next game, Los Angeles Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. The Rams, they're decent, man. I mean, is Kupp back yet? Like, can we just get the real offense going? Because it's fun watching all these other receivers do their best Kupp impression, but I think this offense could still be pretty good once he comes back. Indianapolis, they were successful. They beat Baltimore in overtime, but long live the mustache. It might not be enough to overcome the Rams. I think the Rams actually are a better team, and it does. Do you think this team's better with Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson at the moment, like right now, going into this week against the Rams?
I think it's more fun with Anthony Richardson.
I think it is more fun, too, until he gets knocked out again. Look, if he's going to rush for 2 touchdowns, he's going to win a lot of games, but you're not going to be able to live on that diet. Like, that's just not good. I think the Minshew diet's a little bit easier to live on. All that being said, I'm still going to take the Rams on the road because Indianapolis should be trying to lose. I don't know why they won last week, but who you got?
I'm going to go with the Colts. I think there's a chance that Anthony Richardson can come back. It looks like he's still in the concussion protocol as of earlier today, but I think either way, I think they're different quarterbacks, different floors, different ceilings. But I think the Rams, I just don't think they have all the right pieces. Cooper Kupp will not be coming back. He was on the PUP list, which means he's out at least the first 4 weeks. And I have heard no sort of yes, he's practicing, and no, he's on track. And even when he got put on that list, it still looked like he was still flying around the country looking for a specialist, and that doesn't seem good for a guy that's looking to play football. So I am going to stick with the Colts.
If it's Richardson, I may switch it, but I'm going to the impression that I think it's going to be Minshew, and I'm still going to have the Rams. There's just such a wild card with Richardson if he comes in. Like there's like what the Rams put up. The Rams lost 19-16. So like if Richardson runs for 2 touchdowns, like they're in the game. Versus, I'm not sure if Minshew can do that, but I don't think he can also throw 10 interceptions or get knocked out for concussion. I don't know. We'll see. Moving forward, Tampa Bay at the New Orleans Saints. Look, Tampa Bay played Philly. Philly was a better team. I could pick apart this team, and for all the reasons that we weren't in love with this team, but they're 2-1. Both of these teams, New Orleans and Tampa Bay. New Orleans, if Carr's healthy, I can look into this a whole different way. They're up 18-0 at the first half over the Green Bay Packers. Things are going well. Guess what? Alvin Kamara's coming back. Like this is all great. And then Carr goes out, and the offense completely falls apart. The kicker misses the 46-yard for the win, and suddenly it's like I don't even know if this team's good anymore. And I'm not sure if I liked what I saw out of Tampa Bay yesterday, so I'm just going to go with New Orleans. But there's easily a scenario here where Winston isn't able to score any points at all, and this team, even with Kamara back, isn't better than Tampa Bay. But I don't know. Are you going with Tampa? Like, is Baker live on one more week? I mean, they're 2-1. There was some success early.
No, I'm going with the Saints. I think that having Kamara back, I think that's going to help. I think that Winston, there might just be a little magic there left. Might be able to do something. I don't think that the Bucs are this incredible team. I think they started off and got some upsets, but I think going forward that Saints are at home. A nice little nugget here. I believe the last time not the last time these teams played, the last time Mike Evans on the Bucs and the Saints Marshawn Lattimore played against each other, there was a brawl and they were both ejected. So something to keep an eye on for fireworks there.
All right, next game, Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Commanders faced Buffalo last week, as we mentioned earlier. They lost 37-3. And you would think, like, all right, let's just put it behind us. Better luck next week. And then the next week you get to face the 3-0 Philadelphia Eagles, who just whipped up on Tampa Bay. I'm not entirely sold on Philadelphia being good. I think if you go back to week 1, it's New England. They win 25-20, a winnable game by New England. Next week, it's 34-28. A win against Minnesota. Again, Minnesota being one of finding ways to lose games. And I think Philly's better than the Commanders, but I'm not. The more they win, the less I like them. Is that strange? It's very opposite. This is going to be a 4-0 team that I think is going to be a little suspect, but I think they're not going to struggle to get to 4-0 over the Commanders here. Who you got?
I think the Eagles are actually good. I don't think the Commanders are good, so the Eagles are going to win.
Next game, Minnesota Vikings at the Carolina Panthers. 1-1 of a team here, man. They are 0-3. They were not able to get everything done against the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know if it's a miracle that this team's in the game or a miracle the way the team manages to lose the game. It's unbelievable. It's every week. It's every week. So they end up getting the ball after the Chargers go for it on their own 24 on 4th and 1, and they don't get it. So the Vikings got the ball back. They managed to get this crazy 4th and 5 with 23 seconds to go, and the 23 seconds go off the play clock. Like, they just disappears. There's just a 23 seconds of no play happens the next. They don't know whether to spike the ball. They don't know what play to run. Like, this is every disaster every time I watch amateur football, and I constantly mock college players for really not knowing what to do at end of games, and this sort of situation happening a lot more at elementary level. But this is a professional football team that didn't know what to do at the end of the game. They just didn't know what. Like, that shouldn't happen. There should be. There's so many assistant coaches. There's so many staff members. There's so many players on the field. Somebody should just stood up and been an adult and be like, "Hey, man, we need to stop the clock or snap this damn thing because this game's about to end, and we need a touchdown." It just seems so inexcusable. All that being said, they get rewarded by playing the Carolina Panthers the next game, and I can't say anything good about Andy Dalton, right? Like, I still think that the Vikings are going to beat the Panthers this week. They're both 0-3.
Andy Dalton wasn't half bad.
Are you going with them then? Do you think they're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings?
No. We'll see how I'm feeling. But I'm just saying, Andy Dalton coming in as the starter, but you was the backup, throws for 361 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a decent day. You can come out with a lot of wins throwing those. Imagine we can get that out of Mac Jones.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I kind of wanted to come in with the argument that if Minnesota won Sunday against the Chargers, that I was gonna be like, I think this is the best team in their division still. Like, I think this team's better in Detroit. Like, I think even the last 3 games, despite them shooting themselves in the foot, they have played better teams than I think Detroit and arguably have been in better games than the Detroit has. But we'll see how that ages throughout the season right now. They're 0-3, and there's so many rumors going around right now that they're going to trade Cousins, and they kind of should, because there's other teams in the league with so many bad quarterback problems and such good teams that they're scratching their head being like, are we a little bit better if we just had that guy instead? I don't know what the solution is.
Are those real reports, or is that Jets fan fiction?
Well, I think there's a lot of teams right now that if there was an injury, like, I don't know, do you think New Orleans, say, if Carr's out for the rest of the year, I know it's a week-to-week sort of injury, but what if it ends up coming back that I think it's his shoulder is not going to be repaired? And they're 2-1 right now. I think that's a team that, sure, you could try it again with Winston, but I think if you just threw Cousins in there, like, you're competitive. I think
No, maybe in your division, but remember when we did the preview of this, we said that South, the NFC South, how far down was it? It was like not one team was in the top 10 for Super Bowl favorites. And for sure, now we're 3 weeks in, some stuff is moving around. But you're not Super Bowl contenders. And when you trade draft capital, I think you have to be really sure or really confident or delusional. So they'd be delusional if they did that.
All right, what about Tennessee? Tennessee Titans. They're not better with Cousins than Tannehill?
They're not doing anything.
All right, what about the Atlanta Falcons? Cousins for Ritter. Cousins instead of Ritter.
No, these teams are not. They're going to be bad teams. That one of them is going to have to make the playoffs because of that division, and then they're going to get destroyed once the playoffs come around.
I think they should trade Cousins. I think they should trade Cousins. I don't know if the buyers are out there like I want them to be.
What are they going to do next year?
I'm not sure. I just don't understand how a team could be 0-3 like they are with Justin Jefferson on their team. And I think part of them wants to move on from Cousins as well. And I just don't know what the buyer's market is, if it's quite peaked yet. And I would entertain the idea. I wouldn't just send him anywhere, but I would entertain the idea. And I don't know if other teams are doing it. I mean, I just saw that Colin Kaepernick sent out a letter to try out for the Jets. You don't think that they'd be better off with Cousins?
The Jets, I think, could actually. They're one of the few where, when they had Aaron Rodgers, it was like this could work. They got Garrett Wilson. They had Aaron Rodgers as wide receivers. They had the defense coming in from last year. I think that's totally different than some of these other teams that you're naming. You're just naming teams that have bad quarterbacks, but you need all the other pieces around it to make it worthwhile.
Well, the teams
I don't think the Jets. the Jets traded for Aaron Rodgers, so I don't think they have the draft capital now to trade for the Vikings for Kirk Cousins.
Well, what if they trade him Rodgers?
Why would you take Rodgers?
I don't know. You're Minnesota. You take anything. He's owned you for whatever years.
No, you just keep Kirk Cousins. You keep it simple.
All right. Your season's over. You're 0-3. Keep it simple for a couple more games. Next game.
But then, if you trade him, okay, now you're extra bad rather than just being not good right now. But then what do you do next year? You need a quarterback next year.
I assume you draft one. I hear there's a couple good ones.
That is a risky game to play.
Well, they're not even playing a game right now, so what's the difference? I
think that Kirk Cousins is like, he's not elite, but he's a guy that could be on a good team. The same way they were a fake team last year, but that was a fun ride for him.
All right, what about the next game here? Pittsburgh Steelers at the Houston Texans. What about Pittsburgh? Kenny Pickett wasn't anything special. I suppose there's still hope that he could be better, and that's what you're holding out for, but I haven't been very impressed by it. I was much more impressed by C.J. Stroud the past week, put up 37 points against Jacksonville. Jacksonville might be complete garbage. And Houston, I don't know if they're really that great of a team either. Pittsburgh, I had a lot of hype on earlier in the year, and I picked them to be a lot more successful this year, so I think this is a game that they kind of have to win. They're 2-1 right now. I expect them to be 3-1 and defeat Houston this upcoming week. And Pickett, man, he's shaky, and that's being nice. But I think that's good enough to beat Houston. Who you got?
I am also going with the Steelers. I think C.J. Stroud played a terrific game. I think he's still a rookie, and I think this is a Tomlin special where it's just better coach is going to make this happen. So I'm not giving up on C.J. Stroud, but I just know with these younger guys, there's higher highs and lower lows. So it would not surprise me if we came out of this going, you know what? We all kind of jumped on that C.J. Stroud bandwagon just a tad too quick.
Next game, Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. They're both 1-2. Jimmy G has not been good, and I mean, what is he, just averaging 3 interceptions? The turnovers are just bad, and they're happening at the worst time. But, the coaching with the Chargers, despite having, Herbert goes 40 for 47, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 18 receptions, 218 yards, and a passing touchdown. This team only rushed the ball for 30 total yards the entire game, and yet, on 4th and 1, at their own 24, being up in the game, what were they up, 28-24, they decided to go for it. They ran for 30 total yards this whole game, and yet they're like, no, we can get this 1 yard. We can get this. I mean, we have no Eckler. Mike Williams just tore his ACL, but we're going to get this 1 yard versus if we punt it and we're up 4, our defense couldn't possibly stop them. Like, that's just, am I crazy? Like, where are the numbers on saying that you should win this game because you did that? I get it's just 1 yard, you get it, you win, but if you punt it, you don't give the team any chance to score. Like, or at least they have to really work for it. Versus if you don't get this, they're in the red zone already. Like they're at the 24-yard line. You're so lucky that Minnesota wasn't able to capitalize off this. This team should be 0-3. All that being said, I think Jimmy G is the perfect matchup for them next week. They're going to win. Like Jimmy just can't take care of the ball. I don't know what else to fix out of all that, but there's no way if he's going to sling the ball like he has the last couple of weeks and compete against Herbert this upcoming week, it's going to be a field day for the Chargers. I mean, how many interceptions is Garoppolo going to throw this week? What do you got him at?
2.
2? 2 and a loss?
2 and a loss.
2 and a loss.
I don't like picking the Chargers, but I just think that the Raiders are really bad, and it is not just Jimmy G. Josh Jacobs. They even did a little segment where they asked him, saying, "Hey, you missed some of training camp, or you're on the same team," and he didn't really have an answer. And they asked the coaches, and they're also saying, "Yeah, we can't really figure it out." So that seems like a problem if your main star running back is not the star anymore. So a combination of both. It's the Chargers, even without Mike Williams, they still have some stars on offense. Keenan Allen just looked amazing. So yeah, give me the Chargers, but I'm not happy about it.
Oof. All right, next game. New England Patriots at the Dallas Cowboys. I successfully called the trap game last week. I sniffed it out. I saw it coming. I warned everybody. I don't think I heard it across anywhere else that this was a really competitive Arizona team and that Dobbs is coming out striking. All right, and he did. He did. Dobbs came out competitive. I also thought Connors had an excellent game running the ball. And if I'm the New England Patriots, seeing how we have struggled to run the ball the last couple of weeks, and Zeke's looked a little bit better here and there, I would love to have a really good Stevenson game. And I think if we want to have any chance of winning this game, we're going to have to control the ball running it, because Mac has been weak, and that's being nice. It's good enough to beat Zach Wilson, and that's not good enough to win any other game. I don't know how else to say it other than the Jets only rushed for 38 yards against us, and we were still only able to win 15-10, which, what did we get, a safety on there too? Like, it's really 13-10. Like, the safety, give a whole bunch of credit to our team and defense for, actually getting that done and putting some points on the board. But offensively, we have to play better than this, and I just wish Arizona sucked last week and that we could have been the trap game for Dallas, because I feel like they just straight up fell asleep. I mean, that defense is way too good. It was a huge letdown last week, and I don't know how they fall asleep again this week. Give me some hope. I'm going with the Cowboys at home. I just don't see enough firepower for the New England Patriots. But what can we do? I think if we run the ball, there's hope, right?
We definitely have hope. Dallas has had some unfortunate injuries of late, so I think there's a possibility there. Our defense has looked real sharp. Every game we've played in has been a one-score game, so we just might be that team that we're just constantly battling these out. Last week, I could not believe that they almost won on a crazy Hail Mary where it just we really had to sweat it out the whole time. We couldn't have just put it away. That would have been really nice if just like, can we just get one first down? Just one regular first down. So, maybe we're going to run it some more. I'm not really sure, but sneaky Belichick move. I'm not sure if you heard. Will Greer was on the Cowboys in the preseason. Then he was on the Bengals practice squad. We signed him this week to our squad. So we're getting a little inside information, as well as we're probably going to get some inside information from Zeke. But our defense, I think, is actually good. Maybe not as elite coming in as advertised, but maybe we can get on track. And, Dak's not always this pristine, all clean quarterback. He'll throw some picks up as well. So I'm hoping that we can take advantage of that. And, I might just need a little special teams help this week.
You know what would be super encouraging, and I doubt this is like a crazy statistic that you don't see all the time, but you know how the Celtics were almost like better on the road at some points, and I think the Golden State Warriors as well. Like, what if this New England Patriot team was just a really good road team? I like, it would make no sense. Like, we just had all these really hard matchups at home, and that we're just killers on the road. I would love for that to be the case. I would love to see Mac have a couple good sequences again. Like, it just seems like it's kind of hot and cold, where it's like when it's working, it's great, but he doesn't really have any control of turning it on. It's hard to watch. There's hope though. I wouldn't say this is a hopeless 1-2 team. We've been in some games, and this is going to be a really big test for us. I don't think we're ready for this test, but I still think that we can be competitive in this game, and I wouldn't sell this team short just yet. All right, you got New England, I got Dallas. Moving on, Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. I just talked a real big game up for Dobbs, playing quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, taking on Dallas last week. He goes 17-21, super efficient, 189, one touchdown, nothing too flashy, but it didn't need much. You're taking on the Dallas Cowboys in that defense. Micah Parsons is coming for you, and yet they were able to run the ball right up through them. What a game, what a win for them. Big success. They get rewarded with playing the San Francisco 49ers the next week. And I tell you what, they sniffed out the trap already. They are not going to be asleep for this. They're not going to fall for that. They're also going to be super rested. They played Thursday the last week. Extra days added on for them. I see no way that Arizona overcomes this, but I'm not going to lock it in. Maybe you are. I'll take the Niners at home. Who you got?
Yep. Officially lock it in. Just what you said. Trap game's out of the way. 49ers, extra rest. They smacked around the Giants on Thursday night. That game was not close, but very surprised out of Arizona. You definitely called that out last week. I should have listened a little closer, but jumped on them immediately. Let the half, 2 scores. Then Dak, when there was a chance at some sort of comeback, throws that red zone interception and just game over. So, but yes, this will be my lock of the week.
Fantasy question here. Would you trade John Connors this week for Arizona, or would you hold on to him?
I'm always a fan. Try to sell high, but sell high doesn't mean just like get a little bit of value. Sell high, like really, really go after it. Like maybe a couple what you might think of as insulting offers, and that way, if they say no, they made the decision, and it's out of your hands. You're just like, oh, well, I'll just keep them. You said no, so that's what I do. I don't own them in any leagues, I don't think.
I'm just saying Arizona has been very competitive over the last couple of weeks. I don't think they're going to be very competitive this week, and eventually I imagine this season will get out of hand. I don't think there's any – if it doesn't get out of hand, the other thing that's going to be uncomfortable, like what if this team continues to win a couple more games and then the Kyler Murray deadline starts coming around and it's like, wait a minute, we're over 500 without Kyler, and Dobbs is – like they're not going to suddenly hand it off to Kyler, are they? I mean, that's super far down the road, but –
there's been no news on Kyler, so I don't think that's even a concern right now. They're 1-2.
They've been competitive though, have they not been? Like, all right, some teams there's 1 and 2 teams, and then there's teams that have been competitive in the 3 games. Like they're fine.
So do you want to put Carol or not Carol? You want to put the Cardinals and the Patriots in the possibly frisky category? Are there any other teams you want in that category?
Kind of like Seattle.
Okay, are they 1-2 as well?
They're 2-1.
No, they don't belong.
Yeah, let's see what other 2-1 teams are there. We got the Pats, Raiders. No, I mean, I guess it's New Orleans is 2-1. Let's see what other 1-2s. I got them all written down. Jacksonville's 1-2. I'm not buying that. Tennessee's 1-2. Cincinnati's 1-2. That has potential to be a turnaround, or at least to be what we kind of expected it to be.
Yeah, that's a different category, though, I would say.
Yeah, all right. You know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Moving on. Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Jets. The media headquarters of New York City, just bringing as many eyeballs as they possibly can. The crowd's going to be there, and they're not even going to be there to see the teams play. They're going to be there to see some fan that's just there to see her boyfriend play, and that's going to be exciting, too.
Allegedly.
Do you really? We could do this. You really want to do it? I didn't really want to get into it. I didn't think she deserved the attention. She's already got every single fan in the world. Did she really need our fans too? I mean,
I was more shocked on the football side of things. Adam Schefter put out a tweet like it was a trade or like it was a major injury that she was going to be in the booth. Like this doesn't happen for anybody else. It's like I was very surprised. I get why the broadcast went to it because there's not really much going on in that game, but it was more the football around it that I was very surprised. I thought it was going to be more of the casuals, but no, it was like the premier football guys that were bringing it up, and wow, it was very much talked about. I saw so many videos, there was so much content.
It is interesting. You know, she's got a movie coming out, and it'll be interesting to see how long the relationship lasts. And I'm not saying that relationships can't end quickly anyways. Like maybe this really is real, and then in a couple weeks it's just not. That's not unusual, especially in superstar Hollywood relationships. You know, things age completely different. But I do.
I just don't get people being interested in other people's relationships, like especially people that they don't know.
It baffles me. What doesn't baffle me is that the games that I imagine this short-term relationship will be is that she gets to see Kansas City face the Bears, and this week she gets to see Kansas City at the New York Jets. They are going to destroy. Like, she's just going to think this is the most dominant team of all time. I have no idea what her football like knowledge is, and if she's even a fan at all. But she seemed into the games, and if she's going to be at the games, that's how you act. So like I'm fine with her being a football fan. She's going to act like a football fan. She didn't act like she had no idea going on. She seemed genuinely interested in there.
She seemed to be having a blast.
So I think, you know, all in all, we all love football. If more people want to love football, if Taylor Swift wants to love football, who am I to say not to? You know, this is good for football. She brings the biggest audience in the world. Nobody has a bigger following than her. So like, if we can, maybe we can have more help in the dating world, being like, yes, I like Taylor Swift and football, and we're like, yes, we're perfect together now. This is great. Maybe there is hope for all of us. This is the new bonding. This is a short-term era right now, right? All the online internet dating right now. This is your short window of saying I like Taylor Swift and football, and that makes sense. There's no way the Jets win this game. No way the Jets win this week. I'm picking Kansas City. I can't think of anything to say for a reason why the Jets would win. it's panic time for them. I don't know what else to say other than that. I'll take Kansas City on the road. Who you got?
Yep, give me Kansas City. I'm not seeing anything out of Zach Wilson that I like. The coach and the team seems to be standing strong with him, but it just seems like a matter of time. I mean, they already brought in Aaron Rodgers to replace him, so he was already expected to be a backup. He was expected to be a backup for a reason. I don't know who you bring in. I mean, it's always fun It's fun to mention the guys that are out of the league right now, but it's also like these guys are out of the league for a reason. So there could be maybe a guy comes in for a week and, oh, look at that. There's a little bit of spark, but I don't think the situation is recoverable.
Lock that up for me, too. I forgot to say that. That's my lock of the week.
Okay.
Kansas City on the road. Lock it up. I mean, there's no way Travis Kelce's going to allow this team to lose with Taylor watching. It's just impossible. Like, you're forgetting the power of the girlfriend motivations. And when the girlfriend is that, you do anything. All right, it's moving on. Seattle Seahawks at the New York Giants. Only one Monday game, so we'll likely do the podcast next Monday, and we'll probably miss out on this. So I like Seattle. I don't have a whole lot of nice things to say about the New York Giants other than that they will be rested similar to the San Francisco 49ers with even one more day. Is this rest isn't enough for Saquon to come back? That at least not that I'm imagining it is going to be the case. And Seattle had a better week last week. They beat up on the Carolina Panthers. Is certainly nothing to brag about, but Geno looked good. My prediction is here that the Seattle Seahawks will be up 14-0 at some point, and that will just be like, oh boy, here we go again. New York Giants struggles, and that'll probably be most of the game. I'm hoping that we actually see touchdowns on Monday is really what I'm asking for. So do you think we'll see some touchdowns, and do you think it'll be more by Seattle or New York?
I think we will see touchdowns. I think it will be by Seattle, so give me the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, those are our picks for the week. I doesn't sound like we agreed on every single one here. I just hope one of us actually has a killer week and just crushes it so we can say, yes, knowledgeable, resourceful guys that really know what they're talking about. Maybe we're just better at the fantasy game, of which I didn't have a great week. I put up a ton of points to no avail, which just wasn't enough. But I imagine you had some success. Who were some of the fantasy heroes and zeros of your week?
For fantasy zeros at quarterback, just talked about him. Daniel Jones, also Joe Burrow. Once again, I don't think I'm quite ready to take a victory lap, but I was pretty adamant at the beginning of the season to not draft Joe Burrow. For wide receivers, T. Higgins. At running back, you were on the receiving end of this one, Derrick Henry. It is a problem, and I don't know if it's going to get fixed. It sure looks like his backup is playing more than he is, and I'd be nervous. Top pick, Joshua Kelly. A little bit more upset with Austin Eckler because Austin Eckler got hurt. He's very much a fantasy guy, so he's got his own show and said Joshua Kelly's the guy. Joshua Kelly was not the guy. Another backup, hoping to hit pay dirt. A.J. Dillon coming in for a late scratch for Aaron Jones. Also, fantasy zero. And then the last one, we have no tight ends, we have no kickers, is the Cowboys defense. If you had started them, you ended up with negative points. On the heroes side, lots of heroes. I don't even know if hero is quite the word when you're putting up 40 and 50 points. That's just hero plus. But we have for wide receivers, Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams, Mike Williams, rough one there. Keenan Allen. For running backs, we had Kenneth Walker and Raheem Mostert. And then for defense, we had the Bills. You might have been able to just get a victory with the Bills. They had 30-plus points. That is a lot for a defense.
You forgot one. Are you doing kickers?
What kicker went off? I might have missed it.
McPherson last night. What did he put up? 22, 19 points, something? It was stupid. I lost 2 matchups based on his 19 yesterday, which means I was just up by a little. Like, if he just has an average 10-pointer, I probably win. But to go into the borderline 20s, high teens, it's a hell of a game. God, I blame Burrow because it's like, just get more touchdowns and you won't have to kick any more goddamn field goals. But I just need him healthy. All right? It's a little bit more of a singular case here, but not great. I'll give him a fantasy hero though, because you get 19 from a kicker, you're doing things right. All right, moving on.
19's an awful lot. Maybe I just maybe I missed that one.
You fell asleep early. I did too. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched more of the highlights this morning. All right, that's our picks for this week. Make sure you subscribe and listen to us. Little Column A, Little Column B. We're on YouTube, Spotify, wherever if you're on their streaming platform of whatever radio podcast stuff. And follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
Let's do a little NBA talk before we get out of here. The training camp for NBA will be starting next week, and there are still swirling rumors of trades going all over the place here. Damian Lillard anticipated to be moved, still standing pretty strong on the Miami Heat preference. Today and just earlier this week, there's the Toronto Raptors rumors that they are the front runner to get Damian Lillard. Now, I believe you already had a theory on all this and kind of sniffed this out. This is what was this? Slow news day. Just what are we? Who's leveraging who here? What's to gain out of Toronto being leaked as the front runner to get Damian Lillard?
Yes, I did not like this coming out. This is a complete smoke screen. This is totally coming from Miami. Miami has been waiting all summer. Dame has said more than once just straight out through his agent, all the things. I will only play for Miami. Only trade me to Miami. I won't go anywhere else. It was so blatant and so bad. The NBA came out and said, hey, man, you can't do this. This isn't good for competition. You know, we all get this kind of happens, but you can't just blatantly say this. So everyone has just gotten real quiet about it. All right, let's just go off the side. The reason is because Miami is not going to give up anywhere close. And, of course, anytime you trade a star, no, you don't get full value. All right, that's pretty much what always happens. But when Tyler Hero is the jewel of it for Damian Lillard, all right, nope, that's crazy. So now what is happening, it's getting very close to training camp. They want this done before the season starts. They want, all the teams to be where they're supposed to be. So Miami, I'm so confident, has leaked that Toronto is the favorite. And the reason that they leaked this is because now next week, when, there's going to be some news coming out, hey, look at new faces, new places, all the things, they're going to leak, oh, Toronto is only offering, and it's going to be someone worse than Tyler Hero and 2 second-round picks. So that way Miami can turn around and go, hey, look at this is the market right now. This is the market, and we're willing to offer this, and look how good this is in comparison. So that way, when it comes back around, they're going to be able to pull the trigger, and the NBA is going to try, but they're going to say, hey, no, look. Toronto was the front runner, but they didn't pony up, and we were willing to pony up. And it's going to be the same offer that was already discussed months ago. And I don't like it when Miami's doing all this chicanery.
It was an offer that I think was universally agreed to as not being good enough for Damian Lillard also. It may be a better offer than whatever ends up leaking from all this. The whole idea of being a front runner to me, though, just baffles me more of what exactly is going on with the owners and the GMs of all this, because perhaps I'm just living in a fantasy relation world where it is very easy to make a trade. It's like, hey, Zach, I'm going to propose this trade to you. And you're like, no, and you either send something back or you don't. I imagine in the league, it maybe takes a little bit longer to make it all official and all that, but the conversation is more or less of what we just said. It's, I'm going to offer you this, you say yes or no, and then you counter with what you do want, and we either say, no, that's way too much. Sorry, we can't come to a deal. Like, what does being a front runner mean? It's like we're gonna have ongoing conversations, like we're gonna negotiate day by day, like this is on strike or something. Like, I don't like if you want to make a trade for somebody, it shouldn't be ongoing and a front runner in the next upcoming weeks. It should be
it's not the MVP race.
I want this guy this today, right now. I want to make a deal. It shouldn't take more than a freaking hour to talk about the conversation to get it done. Like, this is just media rumors. I can't buy into this at all. I do think that there is an offer that the Toronto Raptors could give that would be worthy enough of trading for Lillard. But the idea that Toronto didn't want to re-sign Fred VanVleet and that they are excited to then trade for Damian Lillard, it's like, well, you could have gave up nothing and just held on to an aging young guard that's expensive and an aging veteran guard like VanVleet. Like, Lillard's definitely better, but I don't know if you've certainly improved your situation if you're Toronto by saying, no, we'll let Fred go for nothing, and we'll trade a lot more of our assets that we do like for Lillard to get back to a situation where we're still not competitors. It's a sloppy situation. I don't know how he's going to find his way to Miami. The only thing I could think of with this rumor that could be beneficial is if they're going to need help from a third team, and Toronto could be that third team if they're willing. I don't know why they would be willing. I don't know why any team would be willing to help Miami. land Damian Lillard, but it sounds like someone will inevitably. I don't think he's going to get moved before the season starts. I think the best thing Portland could do at this point is just try to destroy Miami's season as much as possible by trading him closer towards the deadline and trying to make that adjustment period worse. Like, what if Lillard gets hurt in the first 2 weeks here, stuck in Portland also, and then what? Then what happens? Then that gets real interesting.
If he's not traded, do you think he's going to play? He seems like he's been pretty adamant that he's not going to play.
I think he'll play.
I don't know if he's going to go the Ben Simmons route or the James Harden route, or maybe he's got a whole unique route we haven't even thought about yet.
Look, he's done.
Maybe.
Look, there is no real right way to ask for a trade, but if you ask me, he's gone about this the closest to the appropriate way you possibly could go about it. So
what are you talking about? He demanded to be traded to one team and one team only. How is that the right way to go about it?
Because he didn't ask for the trade over the last 10 years suffering there, all right? He didn't even demand it. He declined it. He never answered the question. He stood strong. It wasn't until this year that they drafted essentially a replacement for him that he was like, all right, well, you guys drafted a replacement. You didn't draft someone to play with me. You draft someone to play instead of me. I'm out. That seems like a mature way to move on and understand the situation you were in is no longer yours. And that's the reality of it. It's no longer Dame's team. But all that being said, I don't think Dame is the guy that is going to hold out and not want to play basketball. He's missed plenty of time for injury. I think he truly still wants to play, and I think he likes being liked. He's going to show up and play. He's not going to hold out. It's the opposite of everything he's done over the last whatever years of his career if he sits out. It doesn't make any sense. All of that just to get to Miami? Look, he suffered plenty of years in Portland. He could suffer another if he has to.
Oh, no. Basketball player paid millions of dollars to play basketball, suffering. Oh, my heartstrings go out to this guy. Come on. You play the game, you sign the contracts. At the end of the contract, you can go somewhere else. I guess you have every right to demand a trade. But just because you followed the rules up until now, I don't think just gives you a blank check to just now say nope, I don't want to play unless I am traded to this place here. So. Well, training camp is going to start in 1 week, and so we will see if he shows up or not.
Hey,
and we'll know real quick.
Portland has showed zero interest in wanting to keep him either. They just want an offer that's worthy. It's not like they're like, no, Dame, we don't want to trade you. We want to keep you.
That's fair. They should do what's best for their city.
Yeah, that's also what's best for Dame. It's not just it's going to work for everybody. All right, they're going to get the offer they want. It'll inevitably be Miami and a third team with probably the Lakers getting some kicker and all of it too. And it always works out. All right, it's the NBA script. The script writing is very good. It's not like the NFL. All right, you can't have all these Chargers and Minnesota games. Right, there's plenty of stuff lined up for it. It's going to happen. I think it'll happen closer to February than October. So that's more of my prediction here. And the reason we're talking about it and the reason we don't need to get into anything more is we already hashed out the whole Damon and all that thing. There's nothing new about all this. The new thing is that Toronto is in the news and doesn't need to be in the news, and none of us need to be hearing about the news. It's fine.
Total smoke screen. Nobody worry about it. He's still headed to Miami. It's just a matter of when.
All right. Anything you want to add for the people out there?
Just one last thing, one quick thing. Want to just keep track of my stats here. To be a fantasy hero, you have to score more than your 10 projected points. And Evan McPherson, he had 18 points. He was projected for 8.5. So that did not meet the criteria. It was awfully close, but did not meet the criteria. So I did not fall asleep.
Personal case by case. Very, very personal bias. Those 18 were a very brutal 18, all right? The last 8 were very soul-crushing. I'm like, really? And the worst part is it was kicker versus kicker. I had the Philly guy. So I'm not even watching football. I'm watching for the non-football plays to be like, oh my God, please miss the kick. And it never happened. It happened once and I got excited and then it kicked it even more. It was brutal. Brutal way to lose. So he may not be a hero in your mind, but he was certainly a hero against me last night.
It sure was.
We'll be back next Monday. Stick it on the Monday schedule and hopefully we'll have our picks. Let's take on Nate, man. We got to catch up, right? This is going to be the week.
All right, sounds good. I like it.
We'll be back.
column A, little column B.